Alright guys, we are going to continue with The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. So last week the kids ran into a wicked, or not wicked, but not very nice queen who's a witch. Okay, chapter 6, the beginning of Uncle Andrew's troubles. Let go, screamed Polly. I'm not touching you, said Diggory. Then their hands came out of the pool, and, once more, the sunny quietness of the wood between the worlds was all about them, and it seemed richer and warmer and more peaceful than ever after the staleness and ruin of the place they had just left. I think that, if they had been given the chance, they would again have forgotten who they were and where they came from, and would have lain down and enjoyed themselves, half asleep, listening to the growing of the trees. But this time there was something that kept them wide awake as possible, for as soon as they had gotten out of the grass, they found that they were not alone. The queen, or the witch, whichever you'd like to call her, had come up with them, holding on fast by Polly's hair. That was why Polly had been shouting, "Let go." This proved, by the way, another thing about the rings which Uncle Andrew hadn't told Diggory because he didn't know it himself. In order to jump from world to world by using one of those rings, you needn't be wearing or touching it yourself. It is only enough if you are touching someone who is touching it. In that way, they work like a magnet, and everyone knows that if you pick up a pin with a magnet, any other pin which is touching the first pin will come too. Now that you saw her in the wood, Queen Jadis looked different. She was much paler than she had been, so pale that hardly any of her beauty was left. And soon she was stooped and seemed to be finding it hard to breathe, as if the air of the place stifled her. Neither of the children felt in the least afraid of her now. "Let go of my hair," said Polly. "What do you mean by it?" "Here, let go of her hair at once," said Diggory. They both turned and struggled with her. They were stronger than she, and in a few seconds they had forced her to let go. She reeled back, panting, and there was a look of terror in her eyes. "Quick, Diggory," said Polly. "Change rings and hop into the home pool." "Help, help, mercy," cried the witch in a faint voice, staggering after them. "Take me with you. You cannot mean to leave me in this horrible place. It is killing me." It's a reason of state," said Polly spitefully, "like when you killed all those people in your own world. Do be quick, Diggory." They put on their green rings, but then Diggory said, "Oh, bother, what are we to do?" He couldn't help but feeling a little sorry for the queen. "Oh, don't be such a jerk," said Polly. 10 to 1, she's only shamming. Come on." And then both the children plunged into the home pool. "It's a good thing we make that mark," thought Polly. But as they jumped, Diggory felt a large cold finger and thumb had caught him by the ear. And then as they sank down and the confused shape of our own world began to appear, the grip of that finger and thumb grew stronger. The witch was apparently recovering her strength. Diggory struggled and kicked, but it was not of the least bit use. In a moment they found themselves in Uncle Andrew's study, and there was Uncle Andrew himself, staring at the wonderful creature that Diggory had brought back from beyond the world. And well he might stare. Diggory and Polly stared too. There was no doubt the witch had gotten over her faintness, and now, the one she saw in her own world with ordinary things around her, she fairly took one's breath away. In Charn, she had been alarming enough. In London, she was terrifying. For one thing, they had not realized until now how very big she was. Hardly human was what Diggory thought when he looked at her. And he might have been right, for some say there is a giantess blood in the royal family of Charn. But even her height was nothing compared to her beauty, her fierceness, and her wildness. She looked 10 times more alive than most of the people one meets in London. Uncle Andrew was bowing and rubbing his hands and looking, to tell the truth, extremely frightened. He seemed a little shrimp of a creature beside the witch, and yet, as Polly said afterward, there was a sort of likeness between her face and his, something in the expression. It was the look that all wicked magicians have, the mark, which Jadis had said she could not find in Diggory's face. One good thing about seeing the two together was that you could never again be afraid of Uncle Andrew, any more that you would be afraid of a worm after you'd met a rattlesnake, or afraid of a cow after you met a bull. Ugh, thought Diggory to himself. Him, a magician, not much. Now she's the real thing. Uncle Andrew kept rubbing his hands and bowing. He was trying to say something very polite, but his mouth had gone all dry so that he could not speak. His experiment with the rings, as he called it, was turning out to be more successful than he liked. For though he had dabbed in magic himself for years, he had always left all the dangers, as far as one can, to the other people. Nothing at all like this had ever happened to him before. Then Jadis spoke. Not very loud, but there was something in her voice that made the whole room quiver. Where is the magician who called me into this world? Ah, madame, gasped Uncle Andrew, I am most honored, highly gratified, a most unexpected pleasure. If only I had the opportunity of making any preparations. Where's the magician, fool? Said Jadis. I am, madame. I hope you will excuse any liberty these naughty children may have taken. I assure you there's no intention. You, said the queen in a still more terrible voice. Then, in one stride, she crossed the room, seized a great handful of Uncle Andrew's gray hair, pulled his head back so that his face looked into hers. Then she studied his face just as she had studied Diggory's face in the Palace of Charm. He blinked and licked his lips nervously all the time. At last she said to him, Go, so suddenly that he reeled back against the wall. I see, she said scornfully. You are a magician of a sort. Stand up, dog, and don't sprawl there as if you were speaking to your equal. How do you come to know magic? You are not of royal blood, I swear. Well, not perhaps in a strict sense, stammered Uncle Andrew. Not exactly royal, ma'am. The Ketterleys are, however, a very old family. An old Dorsetshire family, ma'am. Peace, said the witch. I see what you are. You are a little, peddling magician who works by rules and books. There is no real magic in your blood and your heart. Your kind was made an end of in my world 1,000 years ago, but here I shall allow you to be my servant. I should be most happy, delighted to be of any service. A pleasure, I assure you. You talk far too much. Listen to your task. I see we are in a large city. Procure for me at once a chariot or a flying carpet or a well-trained dragon or whatever it is usual for royal and noble persons in your land. And then bring me to the places where I can get clothes and jewels and slaves fit for my rank. Tomorrow I will begin the conquest of the world.